My name is Jeff Raymond. So what is new at Arista? I started this a while back, and I think it actually is very appropriate to kind of tell what Arista's been up to in terms of the Tech Field Day series and the various events that the team runs here. And I do it in particular because, you know, Arista still, to many people, is thought of as the low latency switching company or the data center switching company, but you know, we're not the new guy anymore. We're pretty well established, and we've also broadened our portfolio. So you'll see, you might have seen us at the Service Provider Tech Field Day, where we talked a lot about our routing stack, which has been a major area of investment and growth for us. The Security Tech Field Day, where we focused on our security strategy in terms of the network detection and response solutions that we've built, our segmentation strategy, and how visibility and monitoring play into security. Of course, we were back last May at the Networking Field Day, where we focused a lot on our automation and provisioning part of the solution, really focusing on how we handle workflows across domains, not just data center, but across the broader enterprise campus, the interconnects, the multi-cloud. And then we focus more specifically on campus at the most recent Field Day event we attended back in October, the Mobility Field Day, where our cognitive campus solution was discussed, as well as including our wireless, our PoE, and so forth. So that's what we've been up to, at least in terms of the breadth of our solution, how we built it out. And today we're going to kind of come back to the networking kind of core part of our product line and our solution, focusing on, again, as I mentioned, observability. So some of the other things that Arista's been up to, just to kind of fill you in, some of the recent product announcements that we've had, if you kind of go back the last 6 months, back to the summertime, we are still in the low latency space, and our 7130 product was a product line that we've been continuing to invest and enhance, and we came out with some new capabilities on our 7130 ultra low latency platform. We did do an announcement with our cloud grade routing and how we've expanded our portfolio to include more cloud edge use cases, more 5G use cases, both from a platform perspective in terms of new timing capabilities, as well as building out that broader routing stack. We spent some time in Q4 focusing on the kind of the core DevOps roles that we have with our product line from a CI pipeline perspective, and the continuous integration approaches to networking, bringing networking infrastructure as code. And that's going to be something that we're going to be bringing back to some of the future Field Day events as well. And then, of course, we're always rolling out new platforms, the latest silicon. So we announced at the end of the year the 7050X4 and the 7060X5 platforms in terms of the latest merchant silicon, 400, even 800 gig set of capabilities there. So just kind of doing some of that to refresh the folks that might not have caught up with all those details. But let me kind of get to what we're going to talk about today. And I think it's, as I mentioned, a lot to some of the folks in the room before we started, so much of what we talk about when it comes to modern network operating models is about the automation, taking those kind of manual steps and automating them and bringing that into a more kind of modern and efficient workflow for our customers. And so some of that is really about the automation and provisioning side of things that we've spent a lot of time on, but we actually feel that we haven't spent enough time talking about our telemetry solutions, our observability solutions, and really how the modern observability, really techniques that we've learned from our cloud customers, we're really trying to bring those to customers of all shapes and sizes, the rest of our customer base as well. And so you're going to hear today about our CloudVision product in terms of the role it plays from a state streaming perspective. You're going to hear about our DANZ monitoring fabric and the role it plays, as well as some of the analytics tools that we have in our portfolio. But we're going to set this in the context of our evolution from a state perspective. So basically, when we talk about network state, we're talking about basically all the information that a device has, a networking device has, and it's always kind of been locked into the CLI for so many years. And yes, that's their SNMP and their screen scraping and other management approaches to get that state out of there. but it was never really cracked. That code was never really cracked until state streaming came along. And so we've heavily built our entire infrastructure on state streaming, both from an EOS perspective. So all our devices support this, all our virtual devices support this, and bringing it all into kind of a back-end management plane that we call the network data lake. And then our applications like CloudVision run on top of that. And that's what we're going to start off with today. So you'll hear from Ken, both a little bit of a history of our evolution with EOS starting off as a state-based architecture and moving into this data lake evolution, as well as a future look into where we're taking this from a vision perspective. And then we're going to kind of tie that down with Ryan, Paul, and Dan that are going to look at CloudVision, what we have today, both from a CloudVision telemetry perspective and extensibility perspective. And then we're going to, the last piece will be with Prashant on the network packet broker and analytics perspective. And so as you go through this presentation from the team, I'd like you to think about kind of the concepts of cloud principles. These are still the principles that we align to, basically operator-led principles, not vendor-led principles of open standards-based designs, software control and programmability, and being able to leverage those principles in all aspects of the network. But in addition, multi-domain, right? So multi-domain to us means we don't need a different solution every time we move on to a new use case. And the principles can be applied, maybe a little bit, maybe some tweaks here and there, but fundamentals don't have to change. And so when we talk about multi-domain, we're talking about software consistency from a control and management plane perspective.
Third-party networks. So is this actually able to ingest telemetry from other networks?
Yeah, so
regardless of OEM?
Yes, so the concept is absolutely open to any third-party device. What we focus on is collecting data from the different devices. Sometimes it's not just the north or the southbound device collection. Sometimes it's other infrastructure tools and management systems that we want to think about third-party from that perspective. I would set the expectation that we can collect this data from other third-party devices. We don't have like CloudVision, for example, is not a product that's really a multi-vendor device or management system in that sense. So we want to collect that data, but where we're really adding value is the depth of the Arista estate from a management perspective.
And are you still calling it data lake because that's a very generic term?
Yes. So the data lake, and that's exactly a good segue to Ken. And it is, there's a lot of components that are very concrete, as well as a vision where we want to take this, right? And that's what Ken's going to talk about right now. So the data lake has this futuristic view as well as tangible view of what we have today.